We are really appreciate for your coming and for your contributions. Hope at the end of the term we will have fruitful projects from you.
So I'm really grateful that we're here. Really looking forward to today. It is about being serious. It is about being productive and thinking about things that will help you develop a better project in the studio. But it's also about getting to know each other and taking the time to understand what somebody else is saying.
My name is Cem. I'm an urban planner and I'm now writing my PhD thesis on post-disaster recovery, especially for Hatay. I'm the vice president for the Real Estate Association and a volunteer for Türkiye Design Council. I will start with this one. So, in fact, the ultimate target here is to form a model for collaborating, especially for post-disaster situations, which now we have so many cities under, which are really ruined, diminished because of natural or human reasons. And this is the stakeholders in our collaboration. Türkiye Design Council is the NGO, and this council has the protocol with the governmental bodies, the ministries, Ministry of Urbanism and Ministry of Culture. So in this collaborative model, it will be a facilitator, in the middle, organizing the civil and the public part and connecting it to the governmental bodies. So this, in the history of strategic spatial planning, this was planned to be done in Flanders by Albrechts, and this is a new concept after participation for strategic spatial planning now. You see the master planning part is DB architecture, which is Benjamin is leading, and he's a well-known architect, for Turkey, and he's also an academician. And you already know Foster and Partners. They are also a part of this collaboration, doing the leading studies for urban design and strategic spatial planning. So we have in mobility MIC based in Milan, and for landscape architecture, two firms, again mobility firm. So in here we have international and national teams. We are trying to diversify the team since we really want to be objective to ourselves and have the model which will be objective also and can be executed in different places of the world. And we have the consultancies of engineering, geology, archaeology, and restoration and history. First of all, we had to understand what the present situation and also the history was, and then the identity, culture, character, ecology, economy, and then the assessment of the disaster, which is in the buildings, in the built environment, then the approach and the strategies. So then we go down to the towns in like Antakya, Defne, Kırıkan, Samanda. Maybe you have seen some of them. So this is a hard process to manage since the scale, it goes up to the province of Hatay, but at the part, here you see these blues are the cities that are affected from the earthquake. So it's 11, it's not just one. And this is Hatay. So other than that, we have 11 cities, plus 3 or 4 of them. Not as much, but they are really again affected. So Adıyaman, Maraş, Malatya, big cities also. So they also have devastating harms, from the earthquake.
My name is Sofia. I'm from Argentina, but I also study in Delft. And I want to thank the people that are receiving us here in this wonderful city. And I hope that you are enjoying the presentation so far. first we looked into two things, the earthquake phenomena, and then we also defined for ourselves what earthquake resilient architecture means. First, within the earthquake phenomena, we made a distinction of three main phenomena. There's the ground shaking. Within ground shaking, there's a lot of variations because ground shaking can be a completely vertical component or horizontal in one direction or in the other, or you also have different types of combinations of these. So we will not go into detail into those, also because Gijs is more informed about this. Then there's also surface faulting, so this only happens in the fault line of the earthquake, and that is when the ground is shifting either in two different directions, horizontally or vertically. And then we also looked into liquefaction, that is when with certain types of soil, especially alluvial soils, that contain a lot of water that is distributed in the soil, with the shaking, that tends to make it so that the water goes up and the particles go. And that's why it's called liquefaction, because normally you have, well, something that you can see here is just like the building is sort of sinking in the soil. But there is more. There is also the landslides that we looked into. So this happens normally close to slopes, so where the rocks or pieces of soil can go downwards and impact the buildings and the city. And about earthquake resilience architecture, for us it was important to define that it's impossible, we think, to say that something is earthquake proof. So for us, we decided that it's important that a building can save the lives of the people that are inside, so to give enough possibility of escape, and potentially with bigger buildings like a school, it's important that it can provide shelter for after earthquake situation.
So we made like a combined title of our research, and it is Designing for Children After an Earthquake. And our research was more about the emotional side, of emotional safeness side, and that research was more about the...
It was more about how we could link designing for children to for schools in Turkey, and how they could come together, because it's a little bit difficult to find the specific information we want, especially designing for children in earthquake zones, which is not really explored in the field of research at the moment. So,
yeah, perfect. Next slide. Okay, so we found this this quote that a girl from Nepal said during an interview after she was in an earthquake. So this was like a few weeks after the earthquake. I quote, "We are happy to go back to school as we meet friends, and by sharing, talking, dancing, we temporarily forget the fears of the earthquake. But when we see the cracked buildings, we feel scared. We hope that these buildings are removed soon." So this quote kind of made us go further in the research, and we were really interested to see how we can design a school that actually engaged the students back in studying again at school. These are the two main questions for our research. So the question my group did research in was, what are the strategies to design a school that feels safe for children after a traumatic earthquake event? And the question that group did research in was, how can primary schools be rebuilt in the Turkish areas that are highly affected by earthquakes, while taking into account the Turkish cultural background and the mental health of children? Okay. So first, we did research in the emotional damage that children experience. We did like general research on the internet, read some papers, but we also did an interview with an emergency pedagogue from Spain, and she could also tell us a lot about how children behave after an earthquake and what the reactions are after a trauma. So these were a bit of the things that we found. So reactions to a trauma turning inwards were daydreaming, a lack of appetite, trouble with sleeping, sadness, withdrawal from peers, And expressive reactions were irritability, aggressive, rebellious, and rapid personality changes. We also read some interviews. Those were like the same interviews we found the quote of the Nepal girl in. And these were the things we found out of that research. The things they experienced that they told during the interview were that they had fear, were in a rush, had panic, and what they needed was more of a feeling of togetherness. And they actually wanted to go back to school because that was for them like a safe spot to go to.
Of vernacular architecture, and we chose the humus structures in Turkey and the Koti Banal architecture in the north of India. And we chose this, particularly these two methods because they are extremely good in resisting seismic activities like earthquakes.
We dived deeper in doing the research about Koti Banal and humus in Turkey, and the first few things we discovered were the resemblance in materials. We saw a lot of materials that were the same, like the usage of stone, the usage of wood, and we dove deeper into that. Both of those styles are like vernacular architecture, so architecture that is designed to the environment. And the beautiful thing of the environment is it has a lot of wood. Most of the structure is made out of wood. The roof is made out of wood, the whole building is made out of wood, and there's stones in between those, and the wood is connected with joints. It creates like contrabands that change in direction, and then it's filled with the stone, and the wooden beams are also connected with each other, and then the bottom is stone also.
Yeah, so these structures are built by several traditional wooden joints, and these joints are so important because the joints are able to absorb all the lateral forces during a seismic activity, and it also needs to transfer those forces. If we look at the humus joints, this is a fragment of the structure of a humus structure, and we see that they used several traditional wooden joints to connect the columns to the beams, but also the braces.